Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Moffat.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. So that said, I mean, lots of calls coming through from different areas about what's happening, conflicting signals. But then let me let GT complete his thoughts about that development in Aba, where they said, well, they didn't see all the materials, and as such, they just thought, no, something is wrong.
Yes. I was talking about electoral justice as a precondition for electoral peace. And I was saying that, look, they can be invading electoral violence and reactive electoral violence. Nigerians are not unreasonable people, as many people may think. And if we had election last week, and all around South and Southeast, there were pervasive complaints about electoral materials not being complete, about results being written, being allocated. In fact, in Anambra State, there was a strident call for the cancellation of the election because, as far as ABGA is concerned, there was no election. The Victor Ume spoke on his channel and said that the votes were just allocated to him.
ABGA is complaining again in Abia.
In Abia. So if you had that kind of allegation, and at the end of the day, because of the complicated nature of electioneering and complexity of electioneering, including the fact that once results emerge, the route to redress is to go to an election petition. And then you confront a situation whereby a court will say, I have 180 days to decide. Yeah. And when that election petition is being had midway and you are caught by 180 days, the court will then strike it out and say, we can't continue any longer. It happened severally, and a lot of people were short-circuited and were denied justice. So if you had that kind of scenario awaiting you, what do you think will play up in the mind of a candidate or some candidates and their supporters? They say, rather than allow this thing to pass, we will nip it in the bud right here, so that we won't even allow these dubious results to emerge in the first instance before we start fighting those results. And so when we call on people to embark on the path of rule of law, to be peaceful, to be law-abiding, to shun violence and all that, we must also stress the necessity for justice. So if you have a situation whereby there is the fear that result sheets that are not being provided will be filled in elsewhere, you can't stop those people from demanding for, let's see, regardless of what the CPS of INEC will say, it won't be there.
We'll take it from there again when we return in just a moment, because he spoke on this same matter yesterday, and we expect him to speak again today on it. So that will be after we return. Join us again. Now, 575. Well, that big announcement was made by the chairman CEO, Mr. John Momoh, via his Twitter account on the day that that was launched. And we're getting lots of responses from those who are already watching with those channels. Now, here's the thing. Yes, we have our email address, our Twitter accounts, because, I mean, days like this, there will be a lot of information just making the rounds on social media everywhere. So we always encourage you, if you have pictures of what is going on, you could send us those pictures as well as your perspective on what's going on, and you can be sure that we will check with all of those and see how we can bring them to light.
Especially in Akwa Ibom State, where we're getting so many conflicting reports. We want to hear from you firsthand, because you are there and you are part of the process. If you can send us pictures, if you can send us videos, you know the platforms to send those through, and we'll be glad to use them. We're getting reports of people being killed there. In Akwa Ibom State, we're getting reports of people being attacked with machetes and gun-wielding. Hoodlums are just parading themselves everywhere. We just want you to help us to get the true picture in Akwa Ibom State. And of course, anywhere else this is happening, if you have pictures, just send it to us.
Well, don't forget, just keep them specifically simple. But the important thing is nobody, no one should take laws into their hands. It's a rule of law in this country and not the rule of force. Let me get back to our panel of analysts here today on this same matter. Well, about that part wherein when they resort to justice and they don't get it, that's very worrisome at this stage.
I think there is a trend in our electoral system that needs to be addressed, and that is not sanctioning those who engage in electoral violence. I know for a fact that proposals were made by the Election Reform Commission that an electoral malpractice tribunal should be established. If we have an electoral malpractice tribunal and then we have an electoral malpractice bureau, then that body will have the responsibility, apart from INEC or the police, in ensuring, one, that such persons are brought to the book. A situation where you have electoral malpractices, and then INEC says it's going to investigate, and then you are investigating, and then you declare a result. The result has been declared cannot be set aside by INEC again. It can only be set aside in an election petition tribunal. But in the interim, the election petition tribunal has its peculiarity, as articulated by my learned friend GT Oguye, that it's peculiar. So in that instance, the combatants are interested in civil matters. When it comes to electoral violence, it's a criminal matter we are talking about. So basically, the system we have has a gap, and that gap is what breeds impunity. And the moment you have impunity, you'll find out that impunity is bred by lack of sanction. If nobody is giving you sanction and nobody is punishing you for what you are doing, and of course, apart from the thugs themselves, the thugs don't just come out. There are people who procure them. So if you arrest a thug, you take him to the police, and the people who procure them go beyond the scene to bail them, then of course the whole circle of viciousness, it creates this trade of political thuggery.
I even spoke with the Force Public Relations, Emmanuel Ojukwu, on this same matter about getting the big guns who are sending all of this. And he says, well, yes, we're investigating and we'll get to them, but we'll respond to that as well. Let me take further comments on that in just a moment. But we had to get Idris Jibrin to speak to us from Kano State today. Idris, what's happening in Kano now?
Yeah.